Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, love, laugh, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Fay on ubnradio.com.
And welcome. My name is Dr. Marissa, also called the honorable moniker, the Asian Oprah. And you're listening to my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. Twice a week, Tuesdays on Universal Broadcasting Network at naturally high noon. And on Thursdays now on my newly syndicated KCAA AM 1050 NBC News Radio show at 7 for your commute home, Pacific Standard Time. And for those of you who are tuning into the show for the first time, this is a show about hope, and it focuses on your life and how to use some life balance tools so that you're happy 88% of the time. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, Kardashian talk. I'm your host, Dr. Marissa Pay. That's P for positive, EI, and I'm a corporate psychologist in a field that deals with human beings and how they impact organizations. So power, politics, miscommunication, and conflict are some wonderful topics that I get to deal with. And you may have seen me on TV doing some commentary about things like conspiracy theory and about politics on Discovery Channel, Learning Channel, ABC, and Fox. My last special was actually just on Netflix called Hunting the Lost Symbol, Dan Brown's latest book, and the conspiracy theory. I work with thousands of high-achieving, recovering control freak individuals who are trying to overcome what I call a dis-ease with life and asking questions like, why am I not happy? So, welcome to my show. I promise this is not CNN, no constantly negative news that can be boiled down to what is wrong with people. Instead, we focus on what is right with you and what's right with the world. So I tackle real life questions like, do I really want to be single? Do I look fat in this? What is love anyways? Who's my soulmate? And today I am happy to do a back to school special because every once in a while I'd like to check in with that younger generation called teenagers. So this year, this back to school special for in the next couple of weeks, I think we're going back. I invited my own teenager, my 16-year-old Chloe May Carpenter, and one of her very good friends, Renee Cognan, to come to the studio to answer questions that I have for this new generation. So without further ado, please do welcome Renee and Chloe. Hello. And the topic today, my title today is Teens on School, Adults, Boys, and Body Image. And since the stereotype of teenagers is they always have an answer for everything, I'm hoping that is true today. I asked you on here, and I guess my first question is, do you really know everything? As a teenager, is that stereotype true? You know everything.
I would like to think so.
Yeah, you act like you want like that. Renee, what do you think? Do you actually know everything?
I think we want to.
You want to. Why is that?
I think we get a little bit scared with the fact that there's a lot of things we don't know. So maybe we try to act like we've got everything under control.
So maybe you it's an act to make you feel better.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you some questions and see what you think about these following things that I actually have collected from my listening audience. So first interesting question is social networking. What is up with social networking and what is the payoff? Why does the world revolve around Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Pinterest? I don't even know the latest things. So what's up with social networking?
I don't have any social media, at least right now. I used to, and I had some problems with people that were like not leaving me alone on it. So I deleted it all, and I'm glad that I did, but I think it was really hard. But I think it revolves more around social media than it should. At
Okay.
least for us.
Yeah, definitely in the last 10 years or so, it's gotten really out of hand.
Okay. So why are you on social? I know you are. So I'm constantly yelling at her because she takes over my phone and then I have to log out of hers. So why do you do what's the payoff of social media?
I definitely think our generation abuses technology. I think it should be used for the fact technology and schoolwork, but I think we use it for more of a social aspect and more for like attention from other people.
Huh. So you get approval with the thumbs up and the likes, or as I call it, I ask people to give me the finger. Actually, it's a thumbs up. But so the approval, so someone's validating you. Is that what you're looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a form of validation because I think a lot of us struggle with like self-validation. Like we're not sure if our own opinion is good enough. So we look to others, especially like our peers, which is why social media tends to be like teenagers because we're still figuring out who we are. We want approval from other people.
I had heard that all the bravado that teenagers show is actually a cover-up for how insecure you actually feel. How accurate is that statement?
I definitely think social networking has a lot of anxiety to it.
Yeah.
I know a friend that if she doesn't get a certain amount of likes in a certain amount of hours, she'll just delete the photo altogether. And if that doesn't say something about our generation, I don't know what does. But
So let's talk about body image. Okay. So she doesn't like if her picture's not validated, what is she trying to look like? What is beautiful?
I think beautiful varies from country to country. Like Chloe and I were talking about earlier, this video about a woman sent a picture to Photoshop experts in a bunch of different countries and told them to make her beautiful, and it ended up way different in each country. So it's definitely impacted by like what our society portrays as beautiful, which is the media.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in America, it's definitely unhealthily skinny, I think. But I think we're starting to get away from that, but just in recent years.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you guys think you're beautiful?
it's day by day.
Day by
I
day.
definitely agree with that.
Day by day. Okay, so tell me, so some days you look at yourself in the mirror and what happens?
You get frustrated, I think.
Yeah.
Why would you say you're not beautiful? What are you comparing yourself to?
Definitely media.
Media
Definitely
portrayals.
celebrities that you see on TV and like photoshopped images. Even though us as girls, we know they're photoshopped, there's still that little thing in your mind that's telling you, no, you have to look like them.
Yeah, we definitely have that awareness. Like, that's not possible to be there, but we want to be there because we want to be this impossible, inachievable form of beauty that we know we can't reach. So we're always trying to strive for it, and we just end up frustrated.
I'm sure. I mean, you're both beautiful. Now, I know I'm biased on
you.
this side, but I think you are both beautiful, which is why I picked you guys to be on the show too, because I think that you're beautiful, and yet you, like many women, will never measure up to whatever that thing is. So, how do you deal with that?
I think you definitely have to do some personal work and, like, as cliche as it sounds, like soul searching, like trying to figure out what you actually want to be versus what society is telling you should look like. And there's definitely that counterbalance between, like, society wants me to look like this, but do I actually want to look like that?
Mm-hmm. Does it still happen in high school where the popular girls are the ones that look like whatever that society standard is?
I would say they're closer to the society standard, and that's
So what is that society standard? Think about the girls that are popular in high school right now.
blonde, skinny, has a lot of money, has a lot of friends.
Yeah, it's like we know that it's inachievable, and then they're the closest that we could get to it. So everyone kind of flocks to them because they want to be like them.
Do they have good personalities? Are they kind? Are they nice? Are they smart?
I think that's the problem. Like, we look at looks and we value, like, monetary, material things too much, and we kind of put past the personality.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to be popular?
Some days, kind of like how I look at myself in the mirror, I think some days it would be really nice to have people look up to me and be jealous of me. But some days it's just really nice to be yourself, because when you're popular, you can't really be yourself.
Yeah, popularity is all about putting on a show, but I think we still want it.
It's a contest in high school.
Exactly.
Huh. Not one that I grew up not that attractive, and I knew it in high school. I was overweight. I had those really Coke bottom bottle necklace. No, eyeglasses, and I knew.
Like those.
I knew it was funny because I remember when I was 14 and entering high school, I made a conscious decision. I know I'm not going to be attractive, so I better be really nice. And I better, be really nice so that people will like me. So that whole, liking, being seen or respected or admired is more important than being yourself.
I think that's the struggle.
That's a struggle. But you guys...
Because there's the fear of it being more important. Like, that's the struggle that everyone in high school is really dealing with.
Do you ever have conversations like this with your friends?
In roundabout ways.
Yeah, sometimes.
Uh-huh.
We talk about, like, who would be popular or why they are, but it's never really analyzing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like a questioning why it's there.
So if you could redesign high school, okay, what would your definition of a popular person be?
A role model.
A role model in what sense?
I don't think there would be a popular person. I think everyone would be treated equally. Everyone would get along better. Because everyone in high school has these boundaries. Like, oh, I can't talk to them because they're not as popular than me. Like, since when does popularity matter? Is it going to matter in 10 years? Those people that were popular in high school that still act like they're popular when they're adults.
Yeah, that's one of those funny rules too. I don't know, but you're too young for high school reunions, but I remember going back to the high school reunions, and the ones who were popular in high school did not end up being very popular in life, in success.
My mom said something to me going into high school, kind of similar to that like the people who are usually popular in high school, that's the peak. Like, they've reached their peak and they're going down from there.
Yeah, well, again, we hope that everybody is peaked throughout their whole life, right? That's the goal. All right, let's talk about video games and that area of technology. Do you think I hear my older listeners say it's ruining the minds of our young people. True, false?
Personally, I don't know a lot of girls who play video games, but I do know of a couple, but it's mostly a boy thing, I think.
Okay.
I know it's an excuse to be antisocial.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's just an excuse to stay home all day and play in another world that's not reality.
Interesting.
It's an escape, really.
You don't have to face your problems. You can just sit in front of the TV.
And it seems like a temporary fix, but it's really making things worse.
Wisdom from teenagers. What do you say when people tell you that there's going to be no more Social Security money?
I don't think I've ever really thought about it. I think it definitely is something that should be done now, in a sense that I'm not going to realize it until I'm older and when I don't have retirement money, and I'm going to be like, why didn't I figure this out earlier?
Okay.
But there's nothing you can really do about it now.
At least not in our hands. Like,
Yeah.
we don't really have any
Control.
over it, exactly, yeah.
All right. So in that vein, what do you say when people tell you that you're the generation that is going to have a really tough time getting jobs?
I say you're right.
Okay.
It is really upsetting because previous generations have grown up in a really, I don't want to say great economy, but better than ours. And I think that is unfortunate, but I think we should make the best of it.
Okay. All right. And what do you say when your mom coaches people and says it really doesn't matter what the economy is like, and it really just matters that you are doing the best that you can, and that the right job and the right fit in the right situation is going to come about if you continue to plant your seeds?
I think maybe that's sort of like our American dream that we're trying to get toward. Like, if you keep working, we want to believe that we can get there, and I'm sure we can, but it's hard to think about that when you're not there yet. It's easier to think about that when you've achieved it and you can say, like, yeah, like these are the things I did right. But when you're starting out, you don't know what's right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. So there's that fear factor again
The unknown.
that we probably don't give teenagers enough credit for. I know that I don't. All I see is the sass, and all I see is the talk back, and all I see is the bravado. But for people who throw their arms up at teenagers, maybe that is something that we can have a little more compassion towards. That beneath all of that pushback is the fear, and maybe I know J.J. Bristow was my math teacher in grade 10, and he looked at me in the eye and he said, "I know that you will succeed at everything that you put your mind to." And his words, I didn't realize the impact of his words until later on in life. So I'm going to say the same thing to you, Renee, and the same thing to you, Chloe, that you will, anyone who's watching, be able to achieve anything you put your heart to. Does that make you feel better?
I mean, it's motivational.
Okay, that's honest. Okay, next question. Why do teens seem to have more psychological problems than they used to?
It definitely is media and definitely social pressure.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah. I think that, like what we were talking about earlier with body image and stuff, we definitely derive a lot of our problems from that, and we derive a lot of our psychological problems from like our environment. So what people are saying and thinking around us, like even our parents, like how our parent views themselves, that affects how we view ourselves.
Say a little more about that.
I definitely think parents don't understand how much impact and what they say and do affects us.
Definitely. Like, even if your parent can be like completely supportive toward you, tell you look great and everything, and you're doing the best that you can, but if they're critical towards themselves, you definitely have a higher propensity, I think, to take that on yourself as well.
Because that's your role model.
Yeah.
That's someone you look up to.
I don't look the way you're looking at me right now, Miss Chloe May. I think that's a very important lesson. I certainly know that both as a coach, and I'm coaching several teenagers right now. And when I say, you're beautiful or you're smart, and they say, no, I'm not. And I say, where do you get that message from? Do your parents tell you that they're not? That you are not? And they say no, it's because they say that about themselves.
Yeah.
So that's a newer thing. And I know my daughter has been on my butt lately, absolutely trying to stop myself from criticizing myself in front of her. So thank you for that, even though I don't like it when you say it. All right. What's the most annoying thing that adults do?
I think trying to act like teenagers or trying to be hip.
Guilty. Okay. Why?
You shouldn't try and force yourself upon your child in the sense that you're trying to get to know them better and trying to get on the same level as them. They're trying to figure out things for themselves. So you should also give them space, but at the same time be concerned about not just like physical health, but mental health.
So how is a parent supposed to talk to you about mental health that doesn't turn you off?
I think just let your child know that you're there to talk to them about it, and maybe let them know, like, if you're not comfortable talking to me, like, we can get you a therapist or whatever you might need. Because sometimes it's like you feel the pressure, like, I have to be able to relate to my parents, and sometimes it's hard,
Mm-hmm. So that whole expression of my mom is my best friend, or, I hang out with, my parents, they're my best buddies, that's not so helpful?
I think because teenagers are very tricky. We can hide a lot of mental issues and just put up this like guard around ourselves. But I think if your relationship is like too close to your parents, they still have to be disciplining. And so
good to know.
Yeah.
Ammunition right there.
Yeah, you have to have the perfect balance, which seems really hard to do, but I think communication is one of the most important things. Like, try not to leave anything in the dark.
Even sex?
I think it's good to talk about. I think it could be awkward at first, but it's definitely important to talk about, because if you don't, then the only information they're getting is from their friends or from the internet, and that's not always the best information.
I did not pay her to say that, but I absolutely agree with you. I agree with you. In fact, I do that sexual healing with Dr. Marissa at the end of every month that my daughter just rolls her eyeballs at all the time because she keeps saying, is there one dinner where we can get through it without talking about sex and vaginas? But the good news is that she knows that she can talk to me about it, and that we're doing better than our generation, which we're better than the last generation, which didn't talk at all. But we still say, just don't do it until you're married, or if you do it, be safe, which is still doesn't talk about the feelings you get when you like a guy, and whether you should or you shouldn't, and all that kind of good stuff.
I think that's a very American thing. I was reading an article about how, like, other countries, it's not as big of a taboo to talk about sex or whatever it is that we're afraid to talk about here. I think we've kind of made it bigger than it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to take a little break to thank the sponsor for today's show. And when we come back, we're going to talk about boys, because that is one of the parts of the title for this show. But if you've just tuned in, we are talking to two typical teenagers, Renee and my daughter Chloe, and you're listening to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. And today is a back to school special talking about what teens think about, what they're saying, and answering some Moose on the Table questions. And it's sponsored by actually me today. And we're going to, one of the things that I get to do is balance Tai Chi Gong. And I have a DVD out, and it is a moving meditation that promotes inner peace, one breath at a time. We'll be right back when you hear about the video. Welcome to Balanced Tai Chi Gong. We will be slow dancing with the universe in a moving meditation that promotes inner peace, one breath at a time. If you practice regularly, I can promise you that it will impact all health vortexes, body, mind, spirit, soul. You will be in a place of balance and inner peace, the way we were created. 谢谢. And we're back. You're listening to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. And I have our back to school special treat for you today. Today's show is about teens and what they think. And I have Renee Congdon and Chloe May Carpenter, also known as my beloved teenage daughter. How old are you, Chloe?
16
and
going
Renee,
on 17.
16 going on 33. And Renee, you are
16.
16 going on 34. So thank you for joining me. And I promised that we would talk about boys when we got back from break. So tell me about boys.
What do you want to know?
So are you currently, do you have boyfriends right now?
No.
Okay. Have you had boyfriends before?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you think about this whole boy-girl kind of thing? Good, bad, indifferent?
I think
Complicated.
bad. Yeah.
Complicated.
Complicated in high school.
I
Okay.
agree.
Why is it complicated?
Because no one's mature.
Yeah, no one's mature.
Okay.
No one's reached their full mental capacity.
Specifically boys.
Specifically boys, considering they bloom later than girls do.
Yeah, that's what the research says. And so tell me how they are not mature.
Emotionally,
How?
I think.
What do they do, say? What makes them immature?
I think they don't think about how maybe the things that they say are going to affect people, especially girls, because as we've been talking about, everyone's a little bit insecure, especially when we're teenagers. So maybe they don't take that into account.
Okay, so without naming names, if you could send teenage boys to school, okay, and what would you coach them to say and not to say? So without naming names, what are some of the insensitive things that they've said, and what would you like them to say instead? So boys, listen.
Chloe.
I just think overall they should be more respectful.
Okay.
Because I think today we live in a generation that's really concerned about sexual assault and rape. And I think it begins in high school. Like, that's where their minds, like, really start to open up to
Yeah, people
sexuality,
definitely joke about things like that shouldn't be joked about in high school, and they get this false sense that it's okay to joke about that's like an all right territory when it's not.
Like, we are not dolls. We are not anything to play with. We're also human beings.
With feelings and emotions. So sex is something that should not be taken lightly. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. So that if we're treading towards, or we're going on that path, that you should be emotionally ready. When should a teenager start having sex? When should a boy and a girl start having sex?
Not high school.
Not high school. Why?
Because I do have a lot of friends who've gotten out of high school, or I know a lot of stories about people who've had sex in high school and they say it was a really big regret.
Why?
Because they wasted it on someone that they didn't really love. And I think teenage boys especially joke around with love really lightly. They don't really understand what it is. They just think, oh, if you really like someone, you say that to them.
Oh, and they don't really
Mean
know
it.
they don't know what that means.
I think it depends from person to person, but I definitely think you need to make sure that you're actually ready for it and you're not just doing things because you think everyone else is. But yeah, I agree. I think it's really difficult to make that decision, especially in high school.
Yeah. Is it true that there's still pressure to do it in high school, to make sure you do it?
It's not really pressure from everyone else. It's usually pressure from the guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. So in general, or from what I'm hearing, most girls are not as ready to have sex as the guy is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever heard of a case where it was vice versa.
Vice versa.
But I definitely think another thing boys should know is not to focus on media. Like, they'll say, oh, that celebrity's so hot, but that's just a Photoshop picture of her. And I really think that they have this unrealistic mindset for what girls should look like.
I agree.
Like, oh, I'm not going to date her because her hair's too short. Or
Okay.
her smile, or her teeth are crooked and she has braces. But
Okay, so that looksism that we talked about earlier, everything's still so focused on the looks, the outside.
I don't think guys should comment as much as they do on individual people's appearances. So I think, well, first of all, it's not their business. It's, if it, makes you happy to look however you want to look, then that should be your thing. But I think that it's definitely like a pressure to do what, like, is this boy going to like if I dress like this? And I don't think that should be as evident as it is.
Okay.
because if you think about in high school, when you're in the morning and you're putting your makeup on and your clothes on, like, who are you dressing for? Are you dressing for yourself, or are you dressing to impress the cute guy in your first period class?
Okay. And who do you dress for?
Me, obviously.
Good. Yeah, you both have very interesting styles, and I like that it doesn't seem to be like what is in, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
who
that-
wants to spend $200 on what the girls in the magazines wear?
Okay. Good. Smart kid.
If it was up to me, I'd wear sweatpants and a sweatshirt with no makeup every day.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I know that when I dress up, I feel better, and so that's why I dress up. So, okay. Do you think we will ever have world peace?
I think it's a nice goal to reach for, but I think it's not achievable, at least in the near future,
Why?
because there's too many irreconcilable differences, at least right now, especially like with all the stuff that's happening right now with Palestine and Israel and all those issues. There's like war, and it's more difficult than it should be for different people to relate to each other, because we just different religions and different political stances, and there's always corruption. There's always going to be some factor that's you can't compromise on.
Yeah, if we can't work on communication just between the person sitting next to you in class, what makes you think we can't work on communication between other countries?
Yeah, I do a Model United Nations at school. I'm a dork, so we're putting that out there. But,
Well, I
yeah.
was happy when Chloe did it. Yeah.
It's definitely, you don't think about it as much as maybe we should until you really start reading about it or researching it, and it's easy to talk about world peace, like, oh, everyone just gets along and we're all happy with each other, but it's really difficult.
Yeah. It's it's that balance. How do we respect people when we can't agree with them? Is it possible to respect people when you don't agree with them? That's I do a talk called "Why Can't We Just Get Along?" And I usually say because we can't. And then I go sit down. But the truth, what we don't learn is it takes work to get along. Like you were saying about communication, we have to learn how to communicate across differences. Yeah. But I do, the thing that I do love about your generation, there's many things I love about your generation, but one of the things I really love is your generation seems to have a better handle on valuing differences than we do. So that judgmentalism where you have lots of things against bullying, you have lots of things you mentioned on your own, we should criticize less what people are wearing or how they look. I think you guys do that better than we do.
I think we're finally starting to realize that if everyone else is against you, you might as well be the one for you,
Good point.
There's definitely a lot of more like support groups coming out for people with eating disorders and people in the gay community. And I think although it's like fairly new, I think it's something we can reach for and strive for in the future.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of those psychological problems that this generation, so eating disorders is on the rise again. Cutting is one of those things that we never had, I don't remember in our generation, but it's pretty prevalent in your generation now. Suicide threats, suicide calls for help seem to be on the rise in your generation. Why?
Definitely peer pressure. And I know that's been prevalent in all generations, but I think this generation for sure has gotten worse. I watched a movie on Netflix about bullying. I think it's called Bullying. And it was just talking about, it took 5 different families with struggling children with depression and social anxiety. And I think it was just really sad because the schools would never react. They'd be like, oh, we'll make sure to get this kid suspended. But I don't think school boards really understand.
Yeah, we just they treat what they can see, but they're just saying like, we'll punish you if you get caught. And there's no, at least not until recently, there wasn't any effort to stop it before it happened.
Right. I had Jerry Orrs on. He's the one who actually got a national day against bullying put on the California state map. So what you're talking about, it's not just the bullies. And it's not all the bully's fault. The bully was bullied themselves, and it's a systems issue.
It's definitely a cycle.
Right. So that when what do you do to try to stop bullying at school?
It's psychological warfare. You don't really see a kid go up and push a kid from behind. It's mostly it's usually talking about it, or it's actually majorly on social media.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're too afraid to say it in person, so you'd say it online.
Yeah. Internet gives us a sense of like invincibility that we feel like we can't get targeted for things, or we can't be tracked down for things that we say when you really can.
What do you do personally to try to stem that?
I'd like to say, they always say, if you saw a kid getting bullied in the hall, would you stop it? And because there's a lot of peer pressure factors, like, oh, are you going to get made fun of too because you stood up for the bullied kid? I don't know. I've never been in that situation, but I'd like to say I would.
I think we go to a relatively safe school in regards to physical bullying, but I think there's definitely psychological things, and you can't do as much for that as maybe you'd like to. But I think just really including people that maybe seem like they don't have somewhere else to belong to is important.
Befriending someone who doesn't have a lot of friends can like really help them out in more ways than you can imagine.
Great.
Just having someone to relate to, it's helpful.
And that's certainly one of my balance tools on if we recognized that each one of us could actually make someone else feel valuable Like, it's important to feel valued yourself, but just reaching out and asking how someone is or, when tragedy strikes, like when someone takes their life, like Robin Williams did, it reminds me how important it is to take that minute to call someone that I haven't had time to call.
Yeah.
I'm really guilty of that one, because I burn all my candelabras at all ends, but just reminding someone that you love them. I know I love it. It makes my day when out of the blue, for no reason, and she doesn't want anything, she'll say, "I love you, Mom." And that will just make my whole day. And so if we do that with everyone, and who was it? I was at the Long Beach Jazz Festival, and somebody, I think it was Al Jarreau or Will Downing, they said, why is it that we don't say I love you? It's like we only reserve I love you for people who are really close to us, or they do something for us and we say I love you. I think that if we all define love as I care about you, and we care about everybody on the planet,
And it'd be more used, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? I love you. All right. Let's see. What do you think the key to happiness is as a teenager?
As a teenager, I definitely think it's self-love. Because I
agree.
think we put others in front of us, which is a really good thing to do, like care about others, but first you need to work on yourself.
How's that different than selfishness?
I think selfishness is doing what makes you happy even if it makes other people unhappy, and self-love is trying to realize that you can have your own validation and be okay with that.
Wisdom from a teenager. I love it. Yeah, I use the analogy, self-love is baking your own cake. And when you get compliments, it's just icing. So if you can feel good about yourself, in and of yourself, and validate yourself, that's the key to inner happiness. So what 3 things do you love about your life?
My family.
Good answer.
My friends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a lot of things I love about my life. I don't think I could put one thing in front of the other.
Okay. Do you love more things than you don't?
No.
What don't you like about your life?
There's a lot of things, but then I just realized that that's life. No one's life's perfect. You're not going to love every aspect of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you might as well try and tell yourself you love the things you don't love. That's what I'm trying to work on. Like, if I don't like the way I look in a sweater and be like, I love the way this sweater looks on me.
Okay.
Because after a while, it's just going to catch on.
Mm-hmm.
Fake it till you make it.
Okay. What are 3 things you love about your life?
Pretty similar. Family, I'm always grateful for. Definitely a good network of friends. I think I'm really grateful for just like this situation that I have, like the luck that I have that I was born here and to a family that's, well off and not somewhere in Syria where there's a civil war going on. It's like things that you maybe didn't even have a choice about, but you should be grateful for them.
I don't think teenagers are grateful enough. Like, they don't understand. Like, take them to a third world country and they'll come back a different person.
I love this. I don't have to say a word, right? These are teenagers teaching. Teach. Okay. What are 3 things that you worry about the most?
Academics, definitely.
Oh.
Has
Okay.
always been a super
Yes.
forefront for me.
Okay. And doing well.
Well, not
really
just
good
doing well, because in today's society, just being in normal classes is
You're behind.
you're
yeah.
behind.
Okay.
Like if you look at grading scales, C is average. If you get a C in, any public high school, you're behind. You're definitely behind.
Mm-hmm.
An A now has become our like average. Like if you tell someone that you got an A on something, they're like, nice job. A is supposed to stand for like above average or doing very well, and that's become our new sort of normal that we're not even realizing that how much higher that is of a standard.
And we're so competitive with ourselves.
Definitely.
Now, You notice only one of these is my child, so you can't blame the tiger, the tiger mom mentality on that. She's not my kid. So this interesting, the academic pressure to do really well. Why? Like what does A++ mean?
Well, competition has gotten so much more over the years that we're all like basically fighting each other for what we want in life. We're told that we have to get into the best college to be able to have this fulfilling life, and that's like our one and only goal.
Like getting good grades in high school is setting you up for the rest of your life.
Like 15,
and that
16
pressure on a 16-year-old is
a lot. That goes back to the whole why we have more psychological issues than we used to. Academics have gotten more competitive. I know AP classes didn't used to be a thing. Now they're like what you are supposed to be striving for, according to everyone.
Yeah, 20, 30 years ago after high school, you got a job and you started a family. Not a lot of people went to college, but now it's you need to get straight A's in high school, go to a really nice college, get a major, then you can go home and start a family, make money.
But you also know from listening to the news and certainly listening to me work that just because you get really good grades and you go to a good college does not mean that you're going to be happy. Does not mean that you're going to. So what do you say when I say to you, is it possible that you work as hard as you can, you do the best that you can, you get as good grades as possible, because good grades do open more doors. I mean, that's just one of those things. But that at some point you can say, I did the best that I could with the time that I had and the resources I had. And I know that I'm an A student, and I know that I'm capable, and I do get the A's. And that wherever I land in terms of college, and whatever I land in terms of finding something to do that fulfills the desire of purpose in my life, and that's what I should be doing, that's enough. That you don't have to kill yourself to be who you're supposed to be. What do you say to that?
I think we all know that, but at the same time we want to strive for some almost impossible expectation.
It's almost like a challenge.
Yeah, like we're challenging ourselves.
Yes, I am grateful. Actually, I'm really grateful for my parents in that they forced me to study, and they like really nail me down on getting good grades, because I see kids in my school whose parents, like, they get an F and they're totally okay with it.
Okay.
Like, they have no motivation at all. Yeah. And I find that really taboo and really sad at the same time.
So there's a balance. And I guess because I see teenagers who are now in their 50s who grew up with that internal perfectionistic, high-achieving, competitive, gotta be the best. And then they break down because nothing's ever good enough. So I'm hoping that along with the balance of the drive, which there's nothing wrong with that, becomes the balance of the self-validation, which you are definitely on a great road towards. Do you have any last words of wisdom to say to me? Any shout outs? Any love that you want to give on the air?
Hi, Mom.
I think
that's nice.
Kids in high school who are just struggling right now emotionally, I know it's really cliche, but it does get better. I feel a lot of sympathy for the kids who do take their life in high school, because it's high school. It's 4 years of your life. And it's not, no one ever looks back on high school
as like, being as big as it.
Being as is. And if someone would have just reached out to them and asked how their day was, or actually cared and supported them, then they would still be alive today, enjoying their life.
And then the balance to that, to the ones who are not motivated and treating this as, just why bother, I would say that it does make a difference, and that you should take this 4 years seriously, because it'll never come back, and that you're learning. You may never use the history that you're learning, but you're learning how to open your mind capacity and those neurons. So stay in school, try to get as best grades as possible, recovering tiger mom, and enjoy your life, because this is the only one you got that we know of. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And that was Chloe May Carpenter and Renee Congdon on this back to school episode of Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. And we're just about out of time. I would like for you to step up to my balance bar for a second. And there we go. And just to let you know a couple of things on where I am and where you can see me and where you can come give me a hug. I will be performing with the Agape International Spiritual Center and Fabulous Choir at the Raj Festival. That's Rhythm and Joy Festival.com, and you can get tickets, and it's phenomenal. It has some really fabulous musical inspiration. It's given to us by my choir boss, Dr. Ricky Byers Beckwith, and so you won't want to miss it. You can go online, agapelive.com. There's a link there, Raj Festival. Just Google that and you'll get all the information. As well, you can join me in celebrating a couple of different awards that I got this year. The Asian Heritage Awards will be in San Diego at the Performing Arts in Escondido, November the 22nd, I believe. I didn't write it down, but please do Google the Asian Heritage Awards, and you will find the exact location and the date. And as well, I'll be speaking at the Make It in America conference, which precedes those awards. So please do find me at the number 4balance.org for all of the balance happenings to join me. And thank you so much for tuning in. You can listen to the show again if you'd like to. Tune in on NBC News Radio KCAA AM 1050 on Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's it for now. Tune in next week for another fabulous episode. We're actually doing our monthly series, Sexual Healing, with Dr. Marissa. And my special guest, my co-host, is on vacation, so I invited one of my daughters. Both of my daughters had him as teachers. Their favorite teacher, Mr. David Beck, who is the author of a fabulous book of kids learning about sex and their responses to it. So you won't want to miss it. That's next Tuesday and Thursday on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, special guest, David Beck. And that's it for now. Remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out.
Learned to cry at an early age. People around me, my